at 2 straight wins Sunday against the Los Angeles Chargers. Kickoff at 1 o'clock. We're going to talk about it. We're going to break it down. Your latest Locked On Browns starts now.
You are Locked On Browns, your daily Cleveland Browns podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back, my friends, to the show that never ends, your daily delivery of all things Dogpound, LGB, and LOB, the Locked On Browns podcast, brought to you by the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm your host, Jeff Lloyd. We appreciate all of you who make Locked On Browns your first listen every single day. Everyday crowd, we are very much appreciative of you. We need more of you. Over 8,000. Subscribe to Locked On Browns YouTube channel. The show is always available. It is always free wherever you get your podcasts. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. What we know, obviously practice closed. Closed for the week, Friday. What we do know, Browns will be down 2 linebackers. Jordan Hicks, no-go for fourth straight week for Jordan Hicks. Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah, all signs are promising. No practice this week. I'm assuming the Browns would like to give him this week, give him the bye week, and then hopefully start to amp up the workload for Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah going into the following week after the bye. 2 questionable statuses, Khalif Hudson and cornerback Denzel Ward, who did return to practice today, was given a limited designation. I don't know how that one's going to play out. I'm going to be completely honest with you. We all know the story. We all know where Denzel's at. We all know the number as far as his head ailments. Do they need him? Absolutely. They absolutely need him. There's no question about it. Is it worth the risk? Not my call to make. But there you have your Cleveland Browns injuries. Who's in, who's out. Jerome Ford will return this week. Start here on the offensive side of the ball. Of course, it was a very, very good week for the Cleveland Browns last week on the offensive side of the ball. Jameis Winston confirmed a lot of beliefs that a lot of us had about the quarterback position. There was, certainly, a question of where the skill, particularly the receivers, were after the Mari Cooper trade. We've seen Cedric Tillman in that time go for 8 for 81 and then for 799 and 2 touchdowns last week. The week before had a 2-point conversion. Certainly a nice week for Elijah Moore with 8 receptions. Jerry Jeudy highly involved. David Njoku highly involved. By the way, David Njoku did return on 2 practice as well today. Offensive line, it was their best showing of the week. Even with Jedrick Wills back and practicing this week, I'd be stunned if it was anybody else at left tackle on Sunday other than DeJuan Jones. The young man did a nice effort. Browns need to see if they can find somebody who can fill in that spot for the foreseeable future. Plus, it'd be a great way for the Cleveland Browns to save some money by having a guy in a rookie contract, 4th-round pick at a premium position. Now, the Chargers defense is certainly a little bit better than the Baltimore Ravens, but just like the Baltimore Ravens were down their top 2 corners. The Chargers will be playing 2 rookie corners this week as well. Certainly something that Browns should not be, backing away from. Browns also, they're going to have Jerome Ford this week. So which means, and with the Chargers who give up 4.8 yards per carry, there should be a high probability rate for the Cleveland Browns to run the ball successfully on Sunday. And if they want to go heavy run, you have Nick now, who we already seen carry the ball in the teen amount of numbers. We know Jerome Ford can handle 10 to 15 carries. We've seen Dante Foreman highly involved. If this is something where the Browns think they're going to have a sizable advantage, it's something they certainly got to look into. And, sometimes you run the set up the pass, vice versa. We'll see. And it is a large number at 4.8 yards per carry that you see from that Chargers defense, as good as they've been, only allowing 13 points a game thus far through 7 games, sitting at 4-3 going into this one. But if you're the Browns, you feel that's an opportunity, you absolutely have to go after it. I think Jameis is going to come out, and I think the play will be, I'm not going to say 330 and 3 touchdowns, but it is not that hard to believe that Jameis can find himself a zone right now. Jameis has sat a lot over the last few years. And for somebody that played forever, high school, college, all his pro career, to finally get to sit a little bit, especially when you're going from different systems, different teams. Jameis went to New Orleans as a backup, certainly came here to Cleveland as a backup. You're kind of, putting your own self into a work in progress mode. You were trying to find and watching, when he spent certainly the first 7 weeks rather, watching Deshaun Watson tape, I'm not Deshaun Watson. I'm not going to play this exactly like Deshaun Watson is going to play this. I'm going to play this like Jameis Winston is going to play this. So you have to, you have to watch it and envision it through your eyes, your capabilities, your talents. And the one thing I think that we all obviously saw is that Jameis felt there was a big opportunity to eat, on the short slant game. And there were a lot of throws, certainly of that ilk from Jameis on Sunday. Now, Jameis is obviously a little bit taller than Deshaun Watson, a little better ability to see over the line. But my guess, and when you see a backup quarterback come in, he's in all the meetings. He's hearing, if your team is 1-6, some of the negative feedback that is maybe going towards the quarterback who preceded him. So what do you do if you're a guy in that situation like Jameis Winston? You take that information and you use it to your own advantage. There was probably certainly weeks that some of these meetings, Deshaun, this was there. Man, we got to work harder. We can't be missing plays like this. And now you're Jameis. Then you get in there and these same play calls come in and, what's in the back of your mind? I've heard and physically seen the proof in meetings that this coaching staff is saying that these plays were there to be had. They were missed. So that's ingrained. So you're looking right away for those things. And I think he did a great job with that. I think he also did a great job saying, I don't care. I'm going to go down throwing the football. It seems very simple, right? It does. But you see some of this when the Jets are struggling with Aaron Rodgers. Very little is going to be perfect in the NFL. You got to take whatever tiny window it is and let it rip. And you have to take every advantage that comes your way. No defense is going to shut you down completely. They may shut you down in your mind, which shuts you down completely. That's a whole different ballgame. But Jameis is an uber confident dude. When he talks, people listen. He's a leader. He's already loved in the city by the fan base. I think Jameis Winston is going to give us a real nice showing on Sunday against the Los Angeles Chargers. Probably a little bit more difficult defense than he saw last week. But JW going to go out and play well. And it's going to be nice to get Jerome Ford here, where the Browns are going to have pretty much their top group of skill players for the first time in the 2024 season. We're going to continue on here. Your latest Locked On Browns. Appreciate everybody for sticking around. You all saw it the other night, right? Lakers back in Cleveland, the electricity, Bronny James' first couple of NBA points. Well, it may not be that exciting every night in the arena, but it's pretty damn close. So you maybe want to go check out the NBA Live. Take your kids, take your significant other, make it a date night. Go ahead and check it out with Game Time Picks. Game Time Picks filters out the fluff to show you incredible deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands and thousands of tickets. You can customize your spot. And basically what this is you get yourself in there. The feature, it'll set you up with what you were looking for. Where do you want your seat? Where do you want your section? What side of the court do you want to be on? Would you rather be behind a basket? You can do all this really quickly so they can show you what your best options are. Game Time Picks. It's a curation that makes it easier to save more on sports, concerts, comedy, theater, etc. I suggest you use the all-in price toggling. This feature shows you the total up front, so you don't go window to window and all of a sudden realize what seemed to be a great deal isn't so great at all. You get a panoramic view from your seat in the app before you buy. The lowest price guarantee or Game Time will credit you on 10% of the difference. Your purchase is covered with the Game Time ticket coverage, the most flexible customer service policy in the ticketing industry. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time Picks. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game time. Our friends over at 5 Hour Energy know that being a passionate football fan isn't just a hobby, it's a way of life. It takes a lot of energy to power through all-day tailgates, touchdown celebrations, or an agonizing second overtime, which is why they created the Stand the Fan 5 Hour Energy Shot with a special flavor called Fan Fuel. The energy shot made just for super fans like you, the fans who are first in the parking lot and who are the last to leave. We see you. Now, whether it is in a Nick Chubb long run, or a David Njoku lumbering, stiff-arming run across the middle, or a Jameis Winston touchdown pass, you name it, you are set for it with 5 Hour Energy. 5 Hour Energy knows that no matter what team you root for, being a fan requires heart, soul, and a whole lot of energy. Whether you're prepping for the big tailgate or ironing your jersey, your game day to-do list is always a mile long. That's why the limited edition Stand the Fan 5 Hour Energy Shot is here to keep you fueled throughout the season. What's your fan fuel this week? Whatever it is, do it with 5 Hour Energy. Available on 5hourenergy.com. Shipped nationwide. Roll it along here. Your latest Locked On Browns. We appreciate everybody who makes Locked On Browns their first listen every single day. The everyday crowd is a bunch of filthy animals, and we love you guys to death. Make sure you subscribe to Locked On Browns YouTube channel. The show is always available. It is always free wherever you get your podcasts. Now, we've been talking about the offensive side of the ball here, and, I think with as good as the offensive played last week, look, the Ravens put up points, the Ravens put up yards, but I kind of think the collective effort of the Cleveland Browns defense last week's probably got overlooked, and it was probably their strongest showing of the year. Certainly not having Jeremiah Winston was going to hurt, no question about it. JOK has just continued to rack up his play here this year and just taking it to another level, justifying and making the Browns look smart for the contract extension they have just given Jeremiah in the offseason. It most likely, as you're starting 2-0 this week, you're probably looking at Mahmoud Diabate, and you're certainly looking probably at Devin Bush. I've said earlier in the week, every linebacker to this point for the Cleveland Browns has played well this season. I continue that to be the case here against the Los Angeles Chargers, who do run the ball really well. J.K. Dobbins, Gus Edwards, and you certainly cannot sleep on Justin Herbert and his running ability. Not the most natural of runner, but when he finds open grass, the thing that makes Justin so special is he's so tall and so long-legged that, just a couple of strides from him, 7-8 yards, and it consumes yardage extremely quickly. Ladd McConkey scares the living daylights out of me. I'm not even going to remotely lie about this. Ladd could line up anywhere, both outside spots, inside. He's great in motion. Monster week last week. I think it was 6 for 111 and 2 touchdowns. He's really, really coming into a weapon. He's become kind of Keenan Allen 2.0 out there in Los Angeles. Quentin Johnson, it's better this year. It's not necessarily where they had hoped with the investment of the pick they put into him, but it's certainly improving. The Browns here, it's going to have to be a week, hopefully, where they can continue to get pass rush and continue to get pressures. Zadarius Smith still here. Of course, Miles, Isaiah McGuire. Mike Hall probably still going to get some reps on the outside like he did last week. Really, really looks like it's, starting to come together for Mike Hall. I know everyone's going to look at the production and the statistical output, and they're probably not going to agree, but you need to go into the film and you can see just how special and just how highly Browns should feel justified in what they thought Mike Hall was going to be able to be. And you got to keep in mind, Mike's just 21 years old, not even 21 and a half years old. It's just a baby. He's just a pup, but he's really, he's got the physical gifts, the athletic gifts, and, the technique is certainly coming around. The secondary, you have your questions. It's just not been the level that we saw last year. Inconsistencies from Newsome and from Emerson. I don't think it's going to be the case all year round, but I do think it's certainly a case where this needs to end, and it needs to end immediately. And these guys need to kind of revert to what they kind of were last year. Your back's kind of on the line here this week. there's certainly some decisions that the Browns are going to have to make by Tuesday at 4:00 after this game. And, whether they're into moving some guys or not into moving some guys, what happens Sunday could certainly, alter the thought process or accelerate the thought process going into the trade deadline on Tuesday. Again, I want to see more of the younger guys. I want to see Mike Hall play more. I certainly want to see Isaiah McGuire play more. Ogbo had a nice week last week. But I think we're okay with where Ogbo is. We know he's going to be a rotational pass rusher for this team in 2025. So I'm not worried about, where his spot is going to be. I don't think he's also going to be a starter in 2025 either. So, you need to get your look in at a McGuire. You certainly want to get more looks, certainly at Mike Hall. With the linebacker room, and look, it's going to be tough. And the whole Jordan Hicks experience. And look, I was extremely high. And it really started off well. But, guy's dinged up. He's dinged up. But what it's shown is that the rest of these linebackers are playing pretty well. And certainly, with Jason Tarver, linebacker coach, whatever's going on in those meeting rooms and whatever's being translated from the meeting rooms and the film to the practice fields and the game situation, that's probably an assistant coach right now who's doing a hell of a job for the Cleveland Browns, because whatever linebacker goes out there, Buki Watson's another name. He'll probably get a lot of run on Sunday as well. And whoever goes out there is playing well. They're sticking to their assignment. They're making their plays. They're doing what's asked of them. Ronnie Hickman, looks like Ronnie Hickman should be back this week. So I don't necessarily know what that does not do for the safety rotation, but it's nice to have a rotation again. And it's nice to have the ability to sub guys in, sub guys out, because there's certainly been some weeks where they kind of did not necessarily have that luxury. It is also going to be interesting. It's going to be tough for the Browns to come up with who's dressing on Sunday. When weeks past, it's kind of been obvious, they've only had the 47 to kind of put out there. You probably get a couple of healthy scratches this Sunday, and it's not anybody's fault, and it's not maybe the designation on anyone's play. It's just a question that this team is getting healthier. If it's getting healthier, is it going to translate into wins? That's certainly what it's going to be all about. But Browns Chargers Sunday, 1:00. We're going to continue here. Your latest Locked On Browns. We appreciate y'all for being along for the ride. Get ready to tackle the NFL action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Because right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win. This FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. You'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Your host, Jeff Lloyd, your latest Locked On Browns continues. We thank everybody who makes Locked On Browns their first listen every single day, the everyday crowd. If you're not a member by now, make a new plan, stay in, and that plan is subscribe to Locked On Browns YouTube channel. Show is always available. It is always free wherever you get your podcasts. So you go into this game, going to kick off here Sunday at 2-6. This is probably it, because you got to figure there's going to be a good amount of teams in the AFC that are going to battle to around that 10-7 number. Well, you get that 7th loss now. That basically gives you, no safety net to work with. Not an enviable spot to be in here. You're looking for this Jameis Winston magical Joe Flacco 2023 remake movie, but booted with a different star playing the role of Joe Flacco and a Jameis Winston. And it can happen. It truly can. And, I think Jameis is in a really good spot now, because I think the way the offense is being played minus Amari Cooper, and having all of these guys who are kind of about on the same level, except for Jerry Jeudy, who certainly has a contract extension. Jameis is just trying to do anything he can to keep the sticks moving. So again, there is no, determination for him on who he wants to get the ball to, how many times he wants to get a certain individual the ball. Jameis just wants to keep the chains moving and doesn't want to turn the ball over. He wants to keep this job, not only for 2024, but every backup quarterback's dream is an opportunity to get extending playing time within one season to hope that you at least have a fighter's chance to go into the next season to compete for number one, if not be given every opportunity to be the number one quarterback. And you look around and it's probably maybe some changes or two that's going to come to the offensive line. Whether Elijah Moore chooses to stay here in Cleveland or does sign a contract to go somewhere else, you have a guy like Jamari Thrash, who certainly seems like he's ready. I'm actually kind of surprised he hasn't gotten much run yet to this point because, you're still looking to develop here. You are 2-6. And I don't think Jamari Thrash getting some playing time is going to be something that's going to slow down this team in any way whatsoever. But again, a story for another day. Certainly some stuff that'll make up some nice bye-week chatter, so to speak. And it's all about this. There is a lot of guys here, that the Browns need a firm, decision on as to where just exactly they stand for 2025. And it's okay to not be labeled as a starter because teams are built on role players and depth players as well. But the Browns kind of need some confirmation on that, on some of these guys, certainly some of the wide receivers, certainly a guy like DeJuan Jones, the Mike Halls of the world, the Isaiah McGuires of the world, the Mahmoud Diabates, who I'm pretty confident in where he stands for this team in 2025. But it's got to be a collective unit. And, I think this is the thing that's probably going to help this team the most is, in going into that Raven game, there was obviously a lot of, energy and oomph, whether it was misguided or not with the whole confrontation, in the Bengal game, with the Deshaun Watson injury. But this team refound its focus, refound its unity, and, went in and gave the Baltimore Ravens a fight that they probably weren't expecting. Chargers probably aren't going to come in here and sleep on the Browns. They've been watching this film all week of this team. But with Nick Chubb, this team is a better football team. With Jerome Ford maybe playing a lesser running back role, this is a better football team. I'm not going to lie to you. After one start with Jameis Winston at quarterback, this is a better football team. Certainly there are other factors that contribute to that. The run game, the receivers, the offensive line. There's no question. Of course. It takes everything to work. It's, every piece in the band has got to perform equally well to make the music sound as good as it should. And that's certainly, hopefully, going to be the continued case here for this team. Again, you got to make sure you know where Ladd McConkey is. The gang tackling that we saw more of against the Ravens needs to be a continuous thing week in, week out. This team had a really long stretch to begin this year of poor tackling. And the issue with it is, most of the time when you look, there was only one guy versus a guy with the ball in his hands. And if he didn't make the play, you understood that went from a missed tackle to a 15, 20-yard gain. In 23, this was a team that just, attacked and hats to the ball continuously. And, maybe, with a victory last Sunday and, with tasting hopefully another home victory this Sunday, does it continue to whet the appetite? Does it continue to get the boys to play like they need to play? Hopefully, we can get, Myles Garrett to start, getting some stuff put back into, the statistical output. That's huge for this team. The more Myles can do, granted at not 100%, the more Myles can do for this team is just going to uplift everybody else around them. And it's certainly going to make everybody else's job easier as far as them being able to put together some statistical output as well, production, all that good stuff. But you got to play this one, clean. You can't have turnovers. Hopefully Jameis, the couple of throws that, maybe were turnover worthy last Sunday do not come back this week. Again, the Chargers are starting 2 rookie cornerbacks. Cedric Tillman, at his size, at his strength, and at his width, and at his bulk, is a tough matchup for any quarterback in the league when Cedric is playing in his own like he has been. Elijah Moore, been kind of quiet about it, and maybe not every wide receiver would have been. But Elijah Moore, in a contract year, was probably wondering where the hell were his touches and where the hell were his targets. Well, you catch 8 last week against the Baltimore Ravens. There's certainly a good chance your number's going to get called a little bit more this week. Jerry Jeudy, still waiting for that breakout Jerry Jeudy game. Who knows? Maybe this Sunday against an opponent he knows well in the Chargers of the day. David Njoku, after missing Thursday's practice, back on Friday, ready to rock and roll. And again, start DeJuan Jones. Please start DeJuan Jones. Do not start Jedrick Wills. So Browns, Chargers, Sunday, 1 o'clock. Looking towards a good one. Your host, Jeff Lloyd. We appreciate everybody who makes the show their first listen every single day. The everyday crowd, they're a bunch of filthy animals, but they're my filthy animals. I suggest you become a filthy animal as well and subscribe to Locked On Browns YouTube channel. The show is always available. It is always free wherever you get your podcasts. After you're done here, stick around for Locked On NFL. Tyler Rowan in the morning. And, of course, Tony Amp Wiggins in the afternoon. Everything NFL, everything on Locked On. This has been your daily delivery of all things Dog Pound. LGB on the LOB. Let's go Browns.